emphasize, emphasize, dejected, dejected, outdated, outdated, metropolis, metropolis, relocate, relocate, commendable, commendable, endanger, endanger, aristocrat, aristocrat, admiration, admiration, outskirts, outskirts, legitimate, legitimate, gross, gross, contentment, contentment, sly, sly, retrieve, retrieve, respondent, respondent, overthrow, overthrow, absurd, absurd, molecule, molecule, gender, gender, flip, flip, holy, holy, fossil, fossil, stale, stale, insight, insight, compression, compression, hostile, hostile, attorney, attorney, premeditated, premeditated, manuscript, manuscript, yearn, yearn, arctic, arctic, discharge, discharge, sweep, sweep, foil, foil, wholesale, wholesale, transmit, transmit, landmark, landmark, compartment, compartment, redundant, redundant, subordinate, subordinate, contemporary, contemporary, deem, deem, dispirit, dispirit, exploit, exploit, alleviate, alleviate, inherent, inherent, fame, fame, scribble, scribble, supplement, supplement, fragile, fragile, divorce, divorce, respectively, respectively, exert, exert, inflict, inflict, complaint, complaint, gullible, gullible, industrialization, industrialization, daring, daring, rivalry, rivalry, contrary, contrary, access, access, mammal, mammal, vigorous, vigorous, serene, serene, docile, docile, concise, concise, experienced, experienced, aptitude, aptitude, assignment, assignment, confession, confession, flock, flock, equivalent, equivalent, suspend, suspend, confirm, confirm, intentionally, intentionally, anecdote, anecdote, controversial, controversial, dutifully, dutifully, subtract, subtract, legislation, legislation, ridicule, ridicule, diploma, diploma, unveil, unveil, activist, activist, reciprocate, reciprocate, overlook, overlook, consistency, consistency, mediate, mediate, postscript, postscript, adjacent, adjacent, conditional, conditional, breach, breach, chemical, chemical, huddle, huddle, assorted, assorted, devise, devise, sufferer, sufferer, strategy, strategy, outsider, outsider, harsh, harsh, drastic, drastic, immovable, immovable, retain, retain, agenda, agenda, frail, frail, indigenous, indigenous, devour, devour, ingenuity, ingenuity, drag, drag, abuse, abuse, sue, sue, overdue, overdue, foretell, foretell, attractive, attractive, initiate, initiate, illicit, illicit, proficient, proficient, anthropologist, anthropologist, anatomy, anatomy, squat, squat, outcast, outcast, lamely, lamely, defect, defect, waiver, waiver, radiation, radiation, humble, humble, improper, improper, stationary, stationary, conspicuous, conspicuous, currency, currency, fragrance, fragrance, administer, administer, biological, biological, cordial, cordial, vessel, vessel, distinct, distinct, herald, herald, activate, activate, auditor, auditor, hectic, hectic, manufacture, manufacture, consensus, consensus, immerse, immerse, recess, recess, reproduce, reproduce, potential, potential, extinguish, extinguish, spot, spot, extravagant, extravagant, persecution, persecution, forfeit, forfeit, reinforce, reinforce, exaggerate, exaggerate, ban, ban, stem, stem, envision, envision, substandard, substandard, immune, immune, escalate, escalate, priority, priority, pompous, pompous, skeptical, skeptical, coverage, coverage, physics, physics, persistent, persistent, menace, menace, embarrassment, embarrassment, nutritious, nutritious, conquest, conquest, dispatch, dispatch, investigation, investigation, diagnosis, diagnosis, hypertension, hypertension, portfolio, portfolio, console, console, fertility, fertility, herd, herd, primarily, primarily, revive, revive, consultation, consultation, cuisine, cuisine, magnify, magnify, implosion, implosion, composure, composure, utensil, utensil, reckon, reckon, addiction, addiction, forestry, forestry, ventilation, ventilation, comprehensive, comprehensive, comprise, comprise, sequence, sequence, bountiful, bountiful, eventually, eventually, apprentice, apprentice, ethnicity, ethnicity, wither, wither, pastime, pastime, forum, forum, congregate, congregate, commemorate, commemorate, impressive, impressive, venture, venture, profound, profound, discard, discard, renowned, renowned, upstage, upstage, boom, boom, commence, commence, abruptly, abruptly. Confrontation, confrontation. Summon, summon. Regulation, regulation. Accompany, accompany. Enterprise, enterprise. Incriminate, incriminate. Successor, successor. Developer, developer. Feasible, feasible. Humiliate, humiliate. Evict, evict. Creativity, creativity. Hostage, hostage. Utmost, utmost. Intimidate, intimidate. Undertake, undertake. Fitfully, fitfully. Twitch, twitch. Representative, representative. Scholarship, scholarship. Requirement, requirement. Interference, interference. Ballot, ballot. Storage, storage. Altitude, altitude. Diverge, diverge. Mobilize, mobilize. Bulky, bulky. Oppose, oppose. Reference, reference. Pottery, pottery. Criterion, criterion. Pushover, pushover. Amicable, amicable. Overpower, overpower. Surrounding, surrounding. Corrupt, corrupt. Cultivate, cultivate. Unconditional, unconditional. Personnel, personnel. Tactical, tactical. Mandatory, mandatory. Regularly, regularly. Upstart, upstart. Assault, assault. Negligence, negligence. Hapless, hapless. Surveillance, surveillance. Droop, droop. Illustrate, illustrate. Autograph, autograph. Disgrace, disgrace. Hardy, hardy. Emerge, emerge. Distract, distract. Captivity, captivity. Countless, countless. Breadth, breadth. Inept, inept. Lethal, lethal. Preserve, preserve. Transportation, transportation. Interact, interact. Reputation, reputation. Dialect, dialect. Vault, vault. Brutal, brutal. Proximity, proximity. Viable, viable. Credibility, credibility. Extract, extract. Legalize, legalize. Candidate, candidate. Implicate, implicate. Outcome, outcome. Affiliate, affiliate. Premonition, premonition. Sarcastic, sarcastic. Bond, bond. Recession, recession. Avoidance, avoidance. Quota, quota. Approximately, approximately. Prodigy, prodigy. Genetic, genetic. Zeal, zeal. Dangle, dangle. Eloquent, eloquent. Tender, tender. Offspring, offspring. Hinder, hinder. Coordinate, coordinate. Maneuver, maneuver. Artifact, artifact. Ominous, ominous. Latitude, latitude. Subsidy, subsidy. Stifle, stifle. Delirious, delirious. Memoir, memoir. Fake, fake. Hierarchy, hierarchy. Subscription, subscription. Subjective, subjective, repay, repay, negotiate, negotiate, acid, acid, resilient, resilient, remnant, remnant, compromise, compromise, mare, mare, ensure, ensure, prediction, prediction, status, status, triumph, triumph, launch, launch, hydrogen, hydrogen, custody, custody, curb, curb, weld, weld, dispute, dispute, filthy, filthy, ceremonial, ceremonial, obesity, obesity, clutch, clutch, vulgar, vulgar, decay, decay, meditate, meditate, monopolize, monopolize, consecutive, consecutive, co-author, co-author, cherish, cherish, strenuous, strenuous, theft, theft, geometry, geometry, adorable, adorable, virtue, virtue, promotion, promotion, stubborn, stubborn, unison, unison, provoke, provoke, sentence, sentence, prevail, prevail, drought, drought, prey, prey, gleam, gleam, backtrack, backtrack, spiral, spiral, avail, avail, evacuate, evacuate, hesitant, hesitant, encounter, encounter, returnee, returnee, reluctant, reluctant, baseline, baseline, binding, binding, commit, commit, extort, extort, highlight, highlight, pursue, pursue, sector, sector, profession, profession, publicity, publicity, noble, noble, exceed, exceed, accelerate, accelerate, timidity, timidity, overlap, overlap, vomit, vomit, responsive, responsive, resident, resident, convey, convey, removal, removal, expense, expense, painstaking, painstaking, downturn, downturn, nerve, nerve, outlive, outlive, decompose, decompose, demolish, demolish, skid, skid, neutral, neutral, recruit, recruit, gravitational, gravitational, tuition, tuition, syndrome, syndrome, spectacular, spectacular, indefinite, indefinite, fumble, fumble, poll, poll, validation, validation, slavery, slavery, unearth, unearth, condolence, condolence, unauthorized, unauthorized, certify, certify, expire, expire, climatic, climatic, awareness, awareness, roughly, roughly, publication, publication, decisive, decisive, first hand, first hand, compliance, compliance, recipient, recipient, resent, resent, allowance, allowance, ancestor, ancestor, update, update, stumble, stumble, appliance, appliance, disclose, disclose, token, token, monarch, monarch, enviable, enviable, counsel, counsel, stereotypical, stereotypical, sight, sight, incentive, incentive, tranquil, tranquil, thorough, thorough, disadvantaged, disadvantaged, scarce, scarce, conflict, conflict, pawnbroker, pawnbroker, definitely, definitely, bureau, bureau, deposit, deposit, measure, measure, equality, equality, classify, classify, spacious, spacious, invasion, invasion, keen, keen, duplicate, duplicate, insistent, insistent, evolution, evolution, marital, marital, abundant, abundant, hypocritical, hypocritical, remuneration, remuneration, indebted, indebted, engage, engage, irrational, irrational, applicable, applicable, obnoxious, obnoxious, relegate, relegate, vow, vow, anonymity, anonymity, disrupt, disrupt, obvious, obvious, connotation, connotation, pilgrim, pilgrim, punctual, punctual, monitor, monitor, erosion, erosion, commute, commute, transplant, transplant, transaction, transaction, temperament, temperament, sphere, sphere, displace, displace, clarify, clarify, bid, bid, divert, divert, radical, radical, broker, broker, rainforest, rainforest, luxury, luxury, firm, firm, intercept, intercept, hereditary, hereditary, powerhouse, powerhouse, cautious, cautious, solemn, solemn, stray, stray, aggressive, aggressive, salute, salute, omit, omit, paralyze, paralyze, proportion, proportion, appropriate, appropriate, arise, arise, singular, singular, discriminate, discriminate, resurgence, resurgence, drowsy, drowsy, sophisticated, sophisticated, stout, stout, endure, endure, dilemma, dilemma, tackle, tackle, lofty, lofty, drawback, drawback, belated, belated, questionnaire, questionnaire, perilous, perilous, partial, partial, exemplify, exemplify, holdover, holdover, atmosphere, atmosphere, symptom, symptom, digestion, digestion, controversy, controversy, foster, foster, inspire, inspire, scatter, scatter, peer, peer, tangible, tangible, relentlessly, relentlessly, gratify, gratify, awkward, awkward, prompt, prompt, institution, institution, trespass, trespass, indecisive, indecisive, possession, possession, outburst, outburst, sustain, sustain, susceptible, susceptible, hypothetical, hypothetical, bewilder, bewilder, bounce, bounce, dictate, dictate, moderate, moderate, discretion, discretion, outright, outright, ironically, ironically, enchant, enchant, astronomer, astronomer, occupancy, occupancy, legible, legible, adolescent, adolescent, esteem, esteem, stroll, stroll, characteristic, characteristic, indicate, indicate, rot, rot, species, species, excel, excel, shipment, shipment, mutual, mutual, decrepit, decrepit, conscience, conscience, plantation, plantation, breakout, breakout, creditor, creditor, obedient, obedient, compulsory, compulsory, significance, significance, breakthrough, breakthrough, durable, durable, absorb, absorb, circumstance, circumstance, religious, religious, formalize, formalize, sell, sell, intermittent, intermittent, withhold, withhold, jeopardy, jeopardy, dedicated, dedicated, attendant, attendant, outrageous, outrageous, synchronize, synchronize, proponent, proponent, clause, clause, outset, outset, fracture, fracture, furthermost, furthermost, profile, profile, undermine, undermine, memento, memento, instrumental, instrumental, structure, structure, illiterate, illiterate, petty, petty, adrift, adrift, taint, taint, dubious, dubious, retail, retail, suspicion, suspicion, sanction, sanction, satellite, satellite, pensive, pensive, make up, commodity, commodity, assure, assure, conserve, conserve, intervene, intervene, unification, unification, edible, edible, trader, trader, constitution, constitution, familiarize, familiarize, narrative, narrative, welfare, welfare, psychiatry, psychiatry, hail, hail, discourage, discourage, intake, intake, breed, breed, thrive, thrive, shoplift, shoplift, debt, debt, dismal, dismal, flaw, flaw, admittedly, admittedly, dismiss, dismiss, infant, infant, haunt, haunt, oversee, oversee, irritate, irritate, unexpected, unexpected, prosecute, prosecute, tumble, tumble, faulty, faulty, uniquely, uniquely, discipline, discipline, segregate, segregate, slant, slant, diverse, diverse, do, do, radioactive, radioactive, relevant, relevant, provided, provided, hardship, hardship, emigrate, emigrate, explicit, explicit, bizarre, bizarre, completion, completion, explosion, explosion, plot, plot, frenzy, frenzy, degrade, degrade, surplus, surplus, incisive, incisive, incompatible, incompatible, indecent, indecent, inscription, inscription, numerous, numerous, irresistible, irresistible, ignorance, ignorance, property, property, fabricate, fabricate, circulation, circulation, prohibit, prohibit, fusion, fusion, upcoming, upcoming, standby, standby, turbulence, turbulence, retrace, retrace, boundary, boundary, evoke, evoke, deceptive, deceptive, pacify, pacify, disorient, disorient, innovation, innovation, livelihood, livelihood, yield, yield, imprint, imprint, groundwater, groundwater, depict, depict, collaborate, collaborate, accord, accord, subject, subject, application, application, notable, notable, inhabitant, inhabitant, boost, boost, finance, finance, array, array, guideline, guideline, chancellor, chancellor, cozy, cozy, administration, administration, ruthlessly, ruthlessly, spoil, spoil, portray, portray, vaccine, vaccine, subsequent, subsequent, plunge, plunge, humane, humane, devastate, devastate, passionate, passionate, flexible, flexible, applicant, applicant, incidentally, incidentally, strain, strain, component, component, moisture, moisture, superficial, superficial, intersection, intersection, literally, literally, accreditation, accreditation, yardstick, yardstick, implement, implement, depression, depression, comparable, comparable, rigid, rigid, right, right, grim, grim, intense, intense, extraordinary, extraordinary, roam, roam, unperturbed, unperturbed, discontent, discontent, concede, concede, well-being, well-being, negate, negate, knowledgeable, knowledgeable, boundless, boundless, exile, exile, tame, tame, circuit, circuit, ultimately, ultimately, overhaul, overhaul, applaud, applaud, expertise, expertise, condemn, condemn, disprove, disprove, overall, overall, solitude, solitude, stance, stance, assess, assess, cosmopolitan, cosmopolitan, witness, witness, executive, executive, prominent, prominent, lodge, lodge, shatter, shatter, certitude, certitude, gratitude, gratitude, prescribe, prescribe, lawsuit, lawsuit, alert, alert, glimpse, glimpse, anarchy, anarchy, efficient, efficient, debris, debris, antiquity, antiquity, liberate, liberate, veil, veil, barely, barely, unsociable, unsociable, pose, pose, cater, cater, fluently, fluently, gracious, gracious, watchful, watchful, bleak, bleak, mainstream, mainstream, practitioner, practitioner, enlist, enlist, opponent, opponent, materialism, materialism, regarding, regarding, graze, graze, retreat, retreat, costly, costly, affluent, affluent, crucial, crucial, assistance, assistance, formulate, formulate, particle, particle, mellow, mellow, intensive, intensive, assemble, assemble, modernization, modernization, premature, premature, scan, scan, verbal, verbal, curious, curious, barren, barren, overplay, overplay, exotic, exotic, celebrity, celebrity, justify, justify, brilliant, brilliant, crawl, crawl, federal, federal, caption, caption, vast, vast, spontaneous, spontaneous, empathy, empathy, assumption, assumption, bait, bait, exemption, exemption, protective, protective, temper, temper, associate, associate, harmonious, harmonious, remarkable, remarkable, confederation, confederation, utility, utility, alien, alien, irrigation, irrigation, eliminate, eliminate, clash, clash, obstacle, obstacle, creep, creep, tempt, tempt, transcription, transcription, intact, intact, terrain, terrain, stern, stern, vibrant, vibrant, workplace, workplace, pledge, pledge, speculate, speculate, escort, escort, imminent, imminent, massive, massive, condiment, condiment, halt, halt, combat, combat, neurological, neurological, discord, discord, existence, existence, embrace, embrace, habitat, habitat, reminder, reminder, revenue, revenue, scrutinize, scrutinize, contaminate, contaminate, precede, precede, deploy, deploy, falsify, falsify, dimension, dimension, artificial, artificial, seclusion, seclusion, grant, grant, medieval, medieval, debase, debase, acquaint, acquaint, blaze, blaze, fulfill, fulfill, allocate, allocate, secure, secure, batter, batter, precarious, precarious, bashful, bashful, censorship, censorship, dismantle, dismantle, refund, refund, modify, modify, excessive, excessive, county, county, lodging, lodging, workforce, workforce, annoyance, annoyance, sincerity, sincerity, obtainable, obtainable, fright, fright, nominate, nominate, curable, curable, fragment, fragment, leftover, leftover, cynical, cynical, consent, consent, endorse, endorse, marshal, marshal, fierce, fierce, doom, doom, questionable, questionable, grumble, grumble, seize, seize, behavioral, behavioral, shriek, shriek, toxic, toxic, dissolve, dissolve, cosmological, cosmological, alliance, alliance, simulate, simulate, irate, irate, eternity, eternity, CEO, CEO, eject, eject, corporation, corporation, revoke, revoke, shortcoming, shortcoming, exposure, exposure, endow, endow, ignition, ignition, innermost, innermost, commercial, commercial, tariff, tariff, impersonate, impersonate, correspondence, correspondence, dormant, dormant, slaughter, slaughter, mischievous, mischievous, replicate, replicate, mumble, mumble, abortion, abortion, obligation, obligation, infrastructure, infrastructure, closure, closure, browse, browse, legacy, legacy, predecessor, predecessor, fatal, fatal, installment, installment, reliable, reliable, likelihood, likelihood, adjoining, adjoining, employment, employment, deficit, deficit, counterfeit, counterfeit, assimilate, assimilate, flicker, flicker, withdraw, withdraw, fund, fund, versatile, versatile, toll, toll, outgoing, outgoing, disorder, disorder, nudge, nudge, transform, transform, compassion, compassion, hilarious, hilarious, descent, descent, conversant, conversant, voluntarily, voluntarily, arc, arc, trait, trait, bystander, bystander, alimony, alimony, segment, segment, mourning, mourning, bankrupt, bankrupt, adverse, adverse, arrogant, arrogant, authentic, authentic, violate, violate, aquatic, aquatic, foe, foe, random, random, verse, verse, withstand, withstand, cognitive, cognitive, evaporate, evaporate, acoustic, acoustic, lunar, lunar, ecosystem, ecosystem, ease, ease, upturn, upturn, relief, relief, chronological, chronological, capsize, capsize, reconcile, reconcile, invest, invest, ingredient, ingredient, trek, trek, heed, heed, authorize, authorize, petition, petition, deserve, deserve, blissfully, blissfully, nomadic, nomadic, selective, selective, swell, swell, capture, capture, centralize, centralize, deliberate, deliberate, errand, errand, vicinity, vicinity, content, content, calamity, calamity, register, register, facility, facility, disabled, disabled, emission, emission, break up, break up, conceal, conceal, expel, expel, migrate, migrate, adapt, adapt, modest, modest, imply, imply, leverage, leverage, dioxide, dioxide, hybrid, hybrid, hospitalization, hospitalization, advocate, advocate, portion, portion, motive, motive, reconstruct, reconstruct, spark, spark, betray, betray, skim, skim, additive, additive, trial, trial, horrify, horrify, brisk, brisk, chronic, chronic, customary, customary, desist, desist, output, output, reduction, reduction, bravery, bravery, monotonously, monotonously, freight, freight, maritime, maritime, analogy, analogy, receptive, receptive, dehydration, dehydration, epidemic, epidemic, warrant, warrant, loyalty, loyalty, alternative, alternative, crisis, crisis, inventory, inventory, boast, boast, precise, precise, spell, spell, infamous, infamous, perpetual, perpetual, reassure, reassure, counter, counter, ritual, ritual, riddle, riddle, complicate, complicate, inevitable, inevitable, conclusive, conclusive, precaution, precaution, cue, cue, cite, cite, alter, alter, minimum, minimum, inheritance, inheritance, feast, feast, heritage, heritage, forego, forego, offensive, offensive, colonization, colonization, immediate, immediate, indispensable, indispensable, mythology, mythology, parallel, parallel, crave, crave, uproar, uproar, resume, resume, agricultural, agricultural, capability, capability, erect, erect, ambiguous, ambiguous, soothing, soothing, remedy, remedy, squeeze, squeeze, conform, conform, domestic, domestic, downfall, downfall, scrap, scrap, inject, inject, enclosure, enclosure, formidable, formidable, ethics, ethics, redeem, redeem, consume, consume, impair, impair, faith, faith, preference, preference, generosity, generosity, perspective, perspective, quote, quote, confiscate, confiscate, contagious, contagious, clue, clue, illogical, illogical, considerate, considerate, enrage, enrage, routine, routine, enroll, enroll, blunder, blunder, detention, detention, stoop, stoop, uproot, uproot, exclusive, exclusive, capital, capital, dump, dump, virus, virus, verify, verify, substitute, substitute, flourish, flourish, tactfully, tactfully, mercy, mercy, biographical, biographical, detachment, detachment, furnish, furnish, impassive, impassive, setback, setback, outermost, outermost, spacecraft, spacecraft, identify, identify, flare, flare, readership, readership, dread, dread, overly, overly, ceaseless, ceaseless, noticeable, noticeable, contradict, contradict, occupation, occupation, plausible, plausible, enforce, enforce, lenient, lenient, bribe, bribe, permanently, permanently, detour, detour, detect, detect, grave, grave, outstanding, outstanding, disgust, disgust, fortune, fortune, confident, confident, confound, confound, objective, objective, dilution, dilution, prototype, prototype, autobiography, autobiography, operational, operational, overwhelm, overwhelm, hospitality, hospitality, mimic, mimic, disposal, disposal, invaluable, invaluable, cooperative, cooperative, rebel, rebel, testimony, testimony, vegetation, vegetation, witless, witless, weary, weary, deforestation, deforestation, illegal, illegal, catastrophe, catastrophe, accommodate, accommodate, restore, restore, debit, debit, exception, exception, architect, architect, undergo, undergo, penetrate, penetrate, swap, swap, trigger, trigger, fatigue, fatigue, barn, barn, insurance, insurance, ransom, ransom, build up, deport, deport, novel, novel, distinguished, distinguished, extensive, extensive, dislocate, dislocate, corrosion, corrosion, loiter, loiter, decent, decent, beam, beam, hub, hub, disengage, disengage, irreversible, irreversible, constraint, constraint, abolish, abolish, uphold, uphold, delete, delete, consequence, consequence, sacrifice, sacrifice, cram, cram, relatively, relatively, competence, competence, hunch, hunch, integrate, integrate, perception, perception, disperse, disperse, argument, argument, utterance, utterance, sensitive, sensitive, amenity, amenity, overtake, overtake, sneak, sneak, diplomat, diplomat, riot, riot, infusion, infusion, outbreak, outbreak, instruction, instruction, complex, complex, apprehension, apprehension, archive, archive, procedure, procedure, tour, tour, sequel, sequel, elaborate, elaborate, evasive, evasive, excerpt, excerpt, typify, typify, minimal, minimal, conceivable, conceivable, virtually, virtually, refugee, refugee, issue, issue, scramble, scramble, distort, distort, companion, companion, draft, draft, psychology, psychology, provisional, provisional, burnout, burnout, vivid, vivid, superfluous, superfluous, enormous, enormous, revelation, revelation, resort, resort, beneficial, beneficial, agitate, agitate, foresight, foresight, pious, pious, trace, trace, fluid, fluid, sewage, sewage, sufficient, sufficient, charitable, charitable, deranged, deranged, orbit, orbit, vulnerable, vulnerable, course, course, livestock, livestock, resist, resist, extremity, extremity, fanatically, fanatically, indifferent, indifferent, equivocal, equivocal, adequate, adequate, limitation, limitation, litter, litter, infect, infect, deflect, deflect, infringe, infringe, burst, burst, compensation, compensation, preside, preside, statistics, statistics, analyze, analyze, submissive, submissive, era, era, scope, scope, considerable, considerable, terminate, terminate, collective, collective, pathetic, pathetic, dismay, dismay, coherent, coherent, subtle, subtle, devout, devout, harass, harass, friction, friction, unwittingly, unwittingly, fixated, fixated, smuggle, smuggle, underdressed, underdressed, rye, rye, vital, vital, warehouse, warehouse, intelligent, intelligent, clumsy, clumsy, treaty, treaty, plagiarism, plagiarism, resign, resign, influential, influential, bully, bully, clinical, clinical, retaliation, retaliation, anthem, anthem, obscure, obscure, contribution, contribution, demonstrate, demonstrate, mediocre, mediocre, decline, decline, famine, famine, valuation, valuation, forthcoming, forthcoming, uncovered, uncovered, facilitate, facilitate, underestimate, underestimate, session, session, checkup, checkup, gap, gap, criticism, criticism, slack, slack, shudder, shudder, define, define, organism, organism, prosper, prosper, perplexing, perplexing, rebound, rebound, ration, ration, settlement, settlement, subsist, subsist, courteous, courteous, storm, storm, bargain, bargain, temporary, temporary, variable, variable, well off, well off, threat, threat, contract, contract, fraud, fraud, mingle, mingle, hamper, hamper, elude, elude, lapse, lapse, asset, asset, nonetheless, nonetheless, productivity, productivity, widespread, widespread, synthetic, synthetic, coincidence, coincidence, eruption, eruption, articulate, articulate, entangle, entangle, incident, incident, counterpart, counterpart, attentive, attentive, minor, minor, spotless, spotless, milestone, milestone, workout, workout, exhale, exhale, outweigh, outweigh, devoted, devoted, participation, participation, corridor, corridor, sturdy, sturdy, hasty, hasty, revolt, revolt, recognition, recognition, shift, shift, experimental, experimental, worsen, worsen, amplify, amplify, technically, technically, submission, submission, deduction, deduction, pamper, pamper, surpass, surpass, confidential, confidential, trivial, trivial, downplay, downplay, specific, specific, transparent, transparent, diminish, diminish, expand, expand, unanimous, unanimous, discredit, discredit, disguise, disguise, despise, despise, linger, linger, context, context, offset, offset, hazard, hazard, exterminate, exterminate, plight, plight, literacy, literacy, patent, patent, horizontal, horizontal, reasonable, reasonable, gloomy, gloomy, blow, blow, swarm, swarm, peculiar, peculiar, intrude, intrude, evaluate, evaluate, plead, plead, colonize, colonize, edge, edge, initial, initial, grind, grind, adhesive, adhesive, sensation, sensation, tedious, tedious, depot, depot, deceitful, deceitful, scant, scant, prestige, prestige, opportune, opportune, address, address, designate, designate, tribute, tribute, sprain, sprain, manipulate, manipulate, multinational, multinational, spectator, spectator, pinch, pinch, coalition, coalition, tip, tip, option, option, restrain, restrain, wine, wine, physician, physician, adjust, adjust, curator, curator, immigrant, immigrant, sanitation, sanitation, inmate, inmate, lament, lament, supervise, supervise, brand, brand, ongoing, ongoing, inception, inception, populous, populous, fictitious, fictitious, outsource, outsource, expenditure, expenditure, renew, renew, extinction, extinction, acknowledge, acknowledge, merge, merge, naive, naive, desperate, desperate, enliven, enliven, dignity, dignity, underfed, underfed, guarantee, guarantee, enhance, enhance, sluggish, sluggish, amend, amend, obstruct, obstruct, competitive, competitive, abandon, abandon, privilege, privilege, stack, stack, furry, furry, lesson, lesson, archaeologist, archaeologist, imposition, imposition, backbone, backbone, dependency, dependency, resume, resume, voucher, voucher, allege, allege, prerequisite, prerequisite, genuine, genuine, complement, complement, wreck, wreck, defensive, defensive, oppress, oppress, inquiry, inquiry, debatable, debatable, preclude, preclude, defer, defer, startle, startle, affirmation, affirmation, stable, stable, compile, compile, initiative, initiative, wealth, wealth, confine, confine, capacity, capacity, superpower, superpower, dweller, dweller, nominally, nominally, contrast, contrast, skull, skull, tense, tense, bearable, bearable, incredible, incredible, therapy, therapy, audible, audible, colleague, colleague, enact, enact, remittance, remittance, dominate, dominate, tolerable, tolerable, operative, operative, script, script, renovation, renovation, obsolete, obsolete, spite, spite, barbarian, barbarian, conversion, conversion, perspire, perspire, upbringing, upbringing, retailer, retailer, snatch, snatch, rigorous, rigorous, venue, venue, undeniable, undeniable, sparsely, sparsely, compound, compound, nauseous, nauseous, numb, numb, substantial, substantial, crude, crude, referral, referral, intuitively, intuitively, complacent, complacent, botanical, botanical, dedication, dedication, disregard, disregard, vocational, vocational, slash, slash, concession, concession, majestic, majestic, populate, populate, congestion, congestion, scheme, scheme, showdown, showdown, convene, convene, traumatic, traumatic, preliminary, preliminary, demote, demote, acceptance, acceptance, abstract, abstract, budget, budget, valid, valid, shallow, shallow, acute, acute, grasp, grasp, distress, distress, refinement, refinement, telescope, telescope, collision, collision, straightforward, straightforward, discomfort, discomfort, accumulate, accumulate, itinerary, itinerary, sideshow, sideshow, category, category, nuisance, nuisance, age, age, donate, donate, shrink, shrink, sublime, sublime, stimulate, stimulate, frantic, frantic, conviction, conviction, interaction, interaction, presumably, presumably, advanced, advanced, generate, generate, province, province,